Thaddeus Bar Simon burst around the olive tree and jumped over the low stone fence that separated his yard from that of his cousins right next door. A pair of hens squawked in alarm as he cleared the fence, jumped off in a flurry of feathers, and then waddled away clucking their disapproval. Thaddeus was 10. He was dark-skinned, small, and very out of breath. His cheeks were all pink from the exertion. Beads of sweat formed on his temples. He had gathered the hem of his garment, his robe, in a ball in his fist to run back home. And as he got there, he said, "Mom! Mom, you're never going to believe what happened." His mother, Miriam, stepped out of the low, dark doorway that was the entrance to their house, the house really just being a single room carved into the rocky hillside above the Sea of Galilee in the village. She saw Thaddeus there, and then behind him, the two fowl and the low stone wall and the olive tree and a few small goats belonged to the family beneath the tree, and then the low rise of the next hill, and then far off in the distance, the Great Lake sparkling in the afternoon sun, dotted with the sails of the fishing boats going out for the evening. "Mom!" he called back. "Mom, you're never going to believe the miracle that Jesus and I did together." "Oh?" she asked. Word from Capernaum, where her uncle lived, was that this Jesus fellow had been doing some amazing things. Healings, exorcisms, miracles. And Thaddeus had been particularly captivated by the stories as her uncle told him around the campfire a few weeks ago. And so when he heard Jesus was nearby, he rushed through his chores in the morning and set out to join him. He said, "Mom, everybody ate my fish, and everybody ate my bread. Everybody. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and they all ate my lunch." He was standing right in front of her now, looking up into her dark eyes, and she looked down at him with sort of like a half smile. She was trying her best to match his excitement, but was unable to comprehend exactly what he was trying to say. "But Thaddeus," she said, "I only sent you with 2 small pickled fish and those 5 small barley loaves left over from yesterday. That's hardly enough food for a growing boy like you, much less a big crowd." He said, yes, I didn't have enough, but I gave it to Jesus, and Jesus and I together, we had enough. "What?" she said. "You gave away your lunch?" Put her hands on her shoulders, poised to, knock some sense into him. And he said, "Well, one of the disciples, one of those guys who's always with Jesus, I think his name was Andrew, he saw the food that you give me, the little basket of food. And so when Jesus told those who were with him to go and feed the big crowd, Andrew told Jesus about the food that I had." She interrupted him then by digging her nails into his shoulders and said, "Where is this Andrew? What is wrong with him stealing food from a baby? I'm going to tell your father when he gets home from the field." And he said, "No, just wait, Mom, just wait." So Andrew comes to me and says that I should give my fish and my bread to Jesus. And I didn't want to because there wasn't that much of it, and I was hungry, but something inside me just said, I should give it to him. So I gave it all, gave all the fish and all the bread to Jesus. Miriam relaxed her grip on his shoulders and pulled him in close. He was too nice, her sweet boy, too giving, too generous. She said, "Oh, my poor boy, you must be so hungry." And then she sighed and looked towards the dark doorway and the small fire in the hearth by the door. He said, but I gave you everything we had when you left this morning. There's no more food. The stew that's for dinner tonight's barely warm. It won't be ready for hours. Maybe your aunt next door has something you can eat. Daddy said, I'm not hungry. Nobody is hungry. Right? Jesus just took the fish and the loaves and he started passing them out. And when he was done passing them out, there were 12 baskets left over. It was amazing. It was amazing. Pushed him away from her. She cocked her head sideways and then knelt down to bring herself eye to eye. See, Mom, he continued earnestly, like Jesus and I did the most amazing miracle together. This is the best day ever. She smiled and she felt something inside her like something like hope. And she took a deep breath and said, Thaddeus, how many loaves of barley bread did you have for lunch today? He said, 7. Maybe 8. He said, and how many pickled fish did you eat with the bread? He said, 5. And they were delicious. And every one of them tasted just like the 2 you gave me. So she stood up and began to laugh, not in like the jest sort of way, but in the joy sort of way. And Thaddeus reached up and put his hands right on her cheeks and said, Mom, everybody in the whole world ate my bread and my fish today. She stepped back and she said, you know, I pickled those fish. And I baked those loaves of bread. So maybe Jesus and I did a great miracle today. He suddenly dropped his hands and started running around in the yard, just running off his excitement. He said, yes, thank you, Mom. Jesus and I did need a little bit of help from you. And Daddy caught those fish. And Aunt Salome, she ground that barley flour, or ground that barley into flour. But just us on our own, Mom, we didn't have enough. And then he stopped running, looked down and said, Mom, we never seem to have enough, do we? She rubbed her hands together. She hadn't eaten anything that day. She actually sent it all with him. And a single tear went down her cheek, and then another, which was all the reply she could make. He said, Mom, I didn't have enough food, but Jesus and I did together. And he went on. He said, when he was finished passing out the food and everyone was sitting down on the grass eating, Jesus came up to me and put a hand on my shoulder and said, look at what you and I did together today. And then he gave me this. And Thaddeus reached into his robes and pulled out a small bundle wrapped in bands of cloth. And he gave it to his mom. And she unrolled it slowly. When she got to the center, she laid it on a rock. And inside were 6 small barley loaves and 3 small fish. He gave us more than we gave him, she said. And Daddy said, Mom, I don't know how he did it, but I know that I got to be a part of it because I gave what I had to Jesus. And it was so wonderful. So wonderful, she said back. So wonderful.